You open the envelope and your stomach drops. Your home's value went up, but your property tax bill just skyrocketed right along with it. It feels completely unsustainable. Across the country, groups are tapping into that exact frustration. They are organizing town halls and circulating petitions with an incredibly appealing promise: a life completely free from property taxes. In Florida, this movement is rallying behind House Joint Resolution 201, a sweeping proposal to eliminate all non-school property taxes statewide. Texas recently passed a massive slate of constitutional tax bans, and in Ohio, a heavily funded campaign is pushing for a total property tax repeal on the 2026 ballot. But when you trace the millions funding these campaigns, the image of a local grassroots uprising fades. This is a coordinated, vertically integrated operation. Official projections show the scale of the shift. In Florida, the Revenue Estimating Conference anticipates a $14 billion reduction in local government revenue in the first year alone. When that much revenue vanishes, the sovereignty of your town, the ability to pave its own roads or fund its own schools, is the trade-off for a specific transfer of wealth. To understand how this works, we have to look at the architects. Groups like the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, and the State Policy Network operate in the shadows, far outside the public eye. They specialize in model legislation. Corporate lobbyists sit in closed-door conference rooms, writing identical, pre-packaged bills handed to state representatives nationwide. They are building permanent walls. In Tennessee, Senate Joint Resolution 1 attempts to lock a state property tax ban directly into the Constitution, making it mathematically impossible for future voters or lawmakers to restore revenue elasticity, even during a crisis. To move these drastic measures through state houses, the architects use a complexity narrative. They brand massive structural shifts as boring administrative cleanup or tax modernization, relying on the press and the public to tune out before they read the fine print. These legislative scripts appear in state house after state house, overriding local democracy with a nationalized, billionaire-backed blueprint. Winning a vote for these bills requires public consent, so the architects built a media iron dome to insulate voters from dissenting views. They start with the broadcast monopoly. Conglomerates like Nexstar and Sinclair buy up local TV stations and force them to air centrally mandated must-run scripts, borrowing the trust you have for your local anchors to deliver nationalized talking points. This map shows the digital flank. AI-driven systems known as Pink Slime flood internet search results with hyper-partisan headlines. These outlets coordinate to amplify concerns about property taxes, specifically targeting swing states like Ohio, Florida, and Texas. The information you use to make financial decisions is now part of a synchronized operation to align your vote with an external, donor-backed agenda. Once the media campaign works and the Trojan horse is brought inside the city gates, the mathematical reality of these tax bans hits the local budget. This chart shows the projected impact on local government funding. In Ohio, the proposed 2026 repeal would pull $21 billion straight out of local school and police budgets. In Florida, their proposed legislation triggers an immediate $18 billion shock to local municipalities. To survive this shortfall, states are forced to rely on sales taxes. The cost of everyday goods increases, putting the heaviest burden on working-class families who spend the largest percentage of their income on basic survival. Meanwhile, the biggest beneficiaries are out-of-state tech speculators, corporate real estate portfolios, and crypto mining data centers, who are suddenly shielded from paying their fair share back into the grid and the community. This fiscal starvation does not shrink the government to save you money. It shifts the entire tax burden onto your back while intentionally bankrupting the infrastructure you rely on daily. The consequences of that fiscal starvation arrive quickly. Roads crumble, emergency response times double, and public schools lose their funding until basic municipal utilities, like clean drinking water, begin to fail. That failure triggers a reaction called crisis-driven centralization. The state legislature points to the failing city, declares the local government incompetent, and formally strips away its authority to govern itself. This power vacuum sets the stage for the final phase. Into the wreckage steps private equity. This flowchart illustrates exactly how the public square is monetized. Taxpayer funds are rerouted away from public schools and municipal water systems and into a private equity portfolio through shadow voucher programs and subscription-based toll roads. The destruction of your town's budget is the exact product being packaged and sold to private investors. The path from tax relief to total privatization is a predictable arc. Tax cuts trigger the shortfall triggers the crisis, and the crisis justifies the corporate takeover. The push to eliminate property taxes functions as a structural bypass for local control, moving the power to govern your community into the hands of a few billion-dollar stakeholders. Recognize the donor ecosystem building this trap. Reject the bait, and fiercely protect the sovereignty of your public square before it is sold off for parts.